Hello there, Friday people. 10 years ago, on the 7th of July 2005, I was on the London Underground system coming back from a very early sunny morning meeting, I think out to the west, the Heathrow area. You'll understand that I have now forgotten the purpose of the visit. Now, when I got on the train, which of course was crowded, the London Tube is always standing room only, I got a seat, and coming on behind me, two lads, 16, 17, 18 at the most, sat down opposite me. Now I have to tell you that my gaydar is appalling. I've long since stopped myself making assumptions about people's sexuality, and I've learnt in the last 18 months or so to make no assumptions about people's gender either. Getting better at that. But I was no doubt which club these two boys were dancing in. They were perhaps a little bit camp, perhaps a little bit too dressed for 10:30 in the morning. Anyway, I noticed, without staring, I noticed that at some point or other, sitting next to each other, they folded their arms like this. Now that's a very unusual posture on the tube. And then realised that I could see what they thought clearly I couldn't, was what their shoulder to shoulder, upper arm to upper arm, they were interlocking fingers. It was very sweet and very romantic, and they had the feel of going on an early relationship date, at any rate. By the time the tube plunged into the ground, many parts of the outer edges of the London Underground system aren't underground at all. They're above the surface, and many parts are cut and cover only. By the time the tube goes into the ground, into the dark, noisy, smelly, dangerous parts deep beneath the London streets, these two were holding hands, checking a little map book. Clearly they were, looking forward to their day out. They noticed before I did that we hadn't stopped at one of the stations. I only noticed because I happened to glance, peripheral vision, and saw that one of them was a little bit distressed, comforted by a peck on the cheek and then the briefest of lip-to-lip kisses. You don't do this on the London Tube. And then saw that the next station we arrived at, we didn't stop either. Not only did we not stop, but there was nobody on the platform. Now, normally the platforms are packed that time of the day, 3-4 deep. People waiting for your train or perhaps the one after that. We then raced through the centre of London, Pelham 1, 2, 3. I didn't know tube trains could go so fast. No announcements as far as I can recall. Perhaps train drivers at that time couldn't make public announcements into the carriages, as they do frequently now. We finally stopped at the Tower of London. Nobody on the platform, again, doors open. Somebody must have said, leave the train quickly now, because everybody did. The down escalator wasn't moving, the up escalator was, and we moved up into what was inside a police cordon. And when I say police, I mean guys in t-shirts and baseball caps and trainers carrying the most enormous submachine guns I've ever seen in my life. And that was a little bit alarming because, of course, here in England, even the policemen don't carry guns. And suddenly here were, I guess, policemen carrying guns, because when I even got close to one of them, he just said to me, "Op it, mate," He ducked under the tape and disappeared into what was already a crowd gathering. Japanese tourists asking the policeman, who clearly wasn't going to speak to her, what had happened. Nobody's mobile phone's working. They have a way of turning off the mobile phones so that terrorist bombers can't talk to each other. Now that morning, as we now know, there were 2 tube trains were bombed and a double-decker bus, and 52 people lost the right to life, and unlike those 2 boys, the right to love. Many more were fearfully injured. And the amazing thing was that the following day, everybody went to work as normal. In spite of the inconvenience of having to walk, people took half a day to get home because the transport system was closed down. And it was a salutary lesson in how to cope with a random terrorist attack from a homegrown bomber. One of the bombers was a teaching assistant in one of our schools in the north of England, who were killing people randomly because they didn't believe in the same God. It's a bad world. Those 2 boys at least went on, I hope, to have a loving and happy summer, but our thoughts this weekend are with the 52 people and their families who didn't.